everybody, for our headline show, aka Oops, All Headlines. Look at this. We got a box of Oops, All Berries.
Come on, Captain Crunch. Sponsor us. Come on the Breakroom, you coward. Who the hell owns Captain Crunch? Why is there no logo?
Is it Post or General Mills? Or?
Is it the captain himself?
Did the captain reclaim
this might be a bootleg box of Oops, All Berries.
Real Captain Crunch?
This is Oops, All Berries spelled like the man's name.
Welcome back to the Breakroom, everybody. This is our headline show where we're going to cover a bunch of the topics from the last week that we want to dig into. We are streaming live on Twitch. Thank you if you're with us on Twitch. We'll be coming to the chat for your thoughts and questions throughout the episode. Or if you're watching this on the Breakroom YouTube channel, thank you so much. Subscribe, hit like. Let's get into it. Oh, or before that, let me introduce my esteemed panel. We've got holding a box of cereal, Mr. Tommy Bechtold.
Hello.
And then not holding a box of cereal, now holding a box of cereal, Coy Jandreau's here.
I just want to do a quick apology and clarification.
Do we know who made it?
I believe Captain Crunch is independently produced and distributed now by the Quaker Oats Company.
Oh, wow.
So-
Okay. They're like Dr. Pepper, huh? Yeah.
They rebelled against General Mills. The captain rebelled against the general, and here we are.
There was a mutiny aboard the...
The General Mills ship and the captain was victorious.
The good ship corn syrup.
Yes.
But why is the milk gone?
Sponsor the show, for real. We'll build out a full lore. Okay, Captain? We'll give you a backstory. We'll build out a serial
We'll bring the captain
universe.
on the show.
I'll dress
right.
like him.
Us and the captain can make it happen, guys. We're not that expensive. Boxes of cereal, cut me a check. That's it.
Yes.
I'll do a line of Captain Crunch. I don't care. What do I care? It's over.
What color?
Any you pick.
Coming up on today's show, we're going to get into how the ending of episode 1 of Secret Invasion did not leak. Because that was a wild one, and I hadn't heard anything about it before the show came out. So we're going to talk about that, some Kobe Smulders interviews that have happened. Monica Rambeau is going to get a superhero name. We won't have to just refer to her as Monica Rambeau from now on. And of course, some pretty big DC news. Superman and Lois Lane have been cast.
Wow.
We're going to talk about those castings. But let's start off with Secret Invasion. Episode 2 just came out.
Yes.
Enjoyed that very much.
Great episode.
But we're talking specifically about episode 1 because in the last week, there's been a lot of press about that. Maria Hill, spoiler warning though, come on. Maria Hill dies at the end of that. Kobe Smulders' character, who we've been with for quite a while.
She's been since Avengers 1, right?
Yes.
2012?
Yeah, we said goodbye to her, and Kobe Smulders did some interviews recently where she confirmed, yeah, I'm dead.
It's over.
Yeah, I'm not coming
Not
back.
in real life. You're not speaking to a ghoul.
No, that's quite the interview. Then.
Yeah. I've got a scoop. I'm speaking to the ghost of Captain Crunch.
But yeah, she confirmed that.
Oops, all spirits.
Oops, all spirits. Ooh, she
Oops, all bonies.
But Bone Ponies in the chat.
Yeah, come on.
Kobe Smulders confirmed that her character is dead, and then kind of talked about the fact that that was not leaked before this show came out. She's quoted as saying, "I'm surprised that there wasn't an image that got leaked. I guess that's the respect that Marvel has earned over the last decade, which is like, don't spoil it for people." Because that was a big set, right? There's a lot of extras,
and,
outdoors.
A lot of people, I mean, Marvel, in general, Disney PR will grant access to these titles for press and for other people early. And, I saw it a week early or a couple days early at least. And, I'm surprised nobody spouted it out by accident. We all remember Spider-Man No Way Home. Some leaked images rooting the fun for everyone.
Even before the movie came out.
So I think good job, everybody. Great job at this office keeping a lid on.
Good job, us. And she, reflecting on her journey, Kobe Smulders said, "This has been an amazing run. What a dream job." That is a pretty good gig.
Oh, yeah.
You show up, you get to make repeated appearance in Marvel movies, but like, you never have like 30 pages of dialogue
No.
or anything like that.
And she's always such a great character when she appears that it's like an endeared to character for limited screen time. Like I always want more of her, which is like some characters overstay their welcome. You're always like, more Maria Hill.
Yes.
And I feel like she's made the comic better because the comic is now a lot more like her. Like it's one of those characters where the comic wasn't that fleshed out, so there was some storylines, but once she took over, they kind of made it more like Kobe Smulders. She went to the mall a lot.
That's my kind of character.
That's great.
Give me to a Lids. Give me to an Orange Julius.
And going back to like the fact that it didn't leak, Marvel's been on a pretty good streak. Technically, that No Way Home leak, that's a Sony issue.
Sure.
Queen Ramonda,
yeah.
I had not seen that leak ahead of time.
No.
I thought they did a pretty good job keeping a lid on that. What are some other recent things that did not leak? Also a lot of the recent properties have not had like big deaths and things
Sure.
like that.
Which has been part of the conversation.
Yes. There wasn't as much to leak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Guardians kind of didn't really have any like shocking moments, really. Like Guardians was just kind of.
We didn't know that they spoilers for Guardians. We didn't know that they all survived, which was the movie's tension was based off like, will they? If we had known, that would have undermined it. So I guess a non-leak leak is nice.
Yes. True. Now I have two questions. A, do you think Maria Hill deserved better?
No, that's the best way to go. You put an 11-year stint in, you get a pretty definitive death, and guess what? Even definitive deaths in Marvel can be erased or multiversed or Project Tahiti outed. So, I think I'm sure she has enjoyed, I believe her when she says it's a dream job. I also think dream jobs usually, most people don't work their dream job their entire life. They move on to another dream job.
She had a 10-year run.
She had a 10-year run. She's a great actress. She's going to work again and do a lot of other fun things.
Yes.
Bring her back if she wants, but if not, I don't think she deserved better. I think she got what she deserved, which was a great run in an iconic film franchise and a great exit, an iconic ending, a death that you will remember, because who remembers how Ember Maw died? He went out into space and froze. I remember.
Okay.
But I'm a genius.
Point made. Well, I agree. I also think I like that first episode did not telegraph it too much. Sometimes you're watching a series and you're like, wow, we're getting a lot of intimate backstory for Maria Hill this episode. Oh, because they're gonna kill her at the end.
Right. Like they're really endearing us to her. She's doing so many funny or loving things.
The best example of that, and this is not, I don't consider this a spoiler because the show's been out for 2 years. Mayor of Easttown, in the episode where Evan Peters' character gets shot, is like the entire episode. Mayor's starting to soften on him. He's like,
we meet his mom. I think
we meet his mom. He's talking about like his insecurities and like why he's even like interested in Mayor. And it's like, I remember like halfway through being like, oh, he's dead. He's dead.
I like that they made her so important to the press. The whole run up to the show, she was a fixture of the poster. Yeah. She's been everything.
Yeah.
Like
she was at the junket.
She was at the junket.
Yeah.
So I do think that was a smart move to be like, oh, she's in the show. We don't expect her to not be in the show.
Right.
So I like the bait and switch. I also think it allowed stakes to be really high because if you can kill off someone that's been around since phase 1 in the show, that also, I love that it held on her a while. So it wasn't she turning into a Skrull. Like they held long enough that we are informed subconsciously that when people die, they transform. Like I think it'll be a good seed planted that she isn't a Skrull that is an impactful death to a world of like, are they or aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. And just real quick, this is not an Inside Marvel episode or anything like that. We're going to see another significant death before the end of this series.
I think so.
I mean, Talos, my man, Ben Mendelsohn, love you, dude. I think your days are numbered. I think Talos is not surviving.
Yeah.
Mendon?
You about to go.
It seems like he is a character that they're investing a ton in. And like
Samuel J., you stay. Mendelsohn, sashay away.
So also on Secret Invasion news, some of the ratings for the first episode have come out. And the viewership numbers are pretty low. It is the second lowest Marvel Disney Plus series rate as far as viewership, besides Miss Marvel. Which is interesting. I think according to Samba TV, which is like, and also this all needs a caveat of none of these streamers release these numbers. This is all from like third-party firms that have to kind of guess using different methods. So, we're just assuming here, but based on Samba TV, they're saying that about 994,000 people watched that first episode. For comparison, 775,000 watched the first episode of Miss Marvel. And for Andor, which was famously like a great Star Wars show, but was the lowest rated Star Wars show that there had been, that got 2.7 million viewers.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's another stat we don't have up there, but I think Loki was, they listed like 1.3, just for perspective on Marvel shows.
And some of that was Disney Plus was still ramping up subscribers, right? So like there were fewer people on the platform at that time.
I don't know. I also think, I have personally heard from.
Wait, the screen behind me is currently on. There's a on-screen producer Dashiell is waving remotes like an air traffic controller.
I was slightly concerned that a jumbo jet was landing. No, to go back to, I think more and more with these shows that don't release the all-in-one day platform, I hear from people, I just wait a few weeks so that I can watch a bunch in a row. Now, I don't know if that hurts. I don't know if Disney Plus knows this and doesn't care. I don't know if these numbers are correct because, like we said, these are estimates because they will do anything but pay residuals to writers and actors. Even my beloved former employer, Disney, and God, hire me back, but please pay me correctly. I think I don't know. I mean, like, up from Ms. Marvel, sure, I believe it, but I don't know.
Go ahead.
There's a few variables too where we're looking at, the market has shifted in a really big way from superhero content to the way Blockbuster are perceived, how we watch our things. I think that the pandemic lockdown time really changed our viewership style. I think that whole era of just like dump it on streaming and watch it all at once was really detrimental to the whole market. Not only are people not getting paid, but also there's people half watching things. People aren't invested. There's no water cooler conversation because everybody's like the amount of people that are saying it should be a binge show, then you're watching, like, I think the director was on it for 25 months and I think they were developing the show for 5 years. You're watching 5 years of people's work in a day and like you're not having the conversations about it if you binge it. I think binge culture is very detrimental to art and society because our expectations are high and also the attention span of the audience gets shorter every time it happens. So if you've got things like this, like I would say, don't have a binge thing, but if you want to wait and binge it yourself, then you're the one that's going to lose out on the conversation, as is your prerogative.
For episode 3.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm excited that after episode 3, I'm going to have that anticipation for 6 days until episode 4.
And for us to talk about it.
And I bet there's going to be some combination of things. Don't you feel like by the time Andor was ending, the word of mouth had gone nuts and everybody's like, I know you're not watching Andor, but you got to catch up. And it felt like a lot of the people I talked to maybe missed the first couple episodes, but then started watching them. I know that always happens with Game of Thrones where like people kind of skip the first episodes, catch up, and then by the end, everybody's watching the finale.
Very classically on the Brady Bunch, until Peter lost his voice, people refused to watch. And once it was time to change, it was time to tune.
I didn't get into the Hawaii holiday episode.
The Curse Idol?
That's right.
Yes.
But I think that's what's going to happen here. We were Evan and I were talking about this too. This is also a show aimed at adults, right? Adults who may have busier schedules, maybe, or whatever, might take a little time to discover this. I think especially, I love that second episode. Are you currently in pain, Tommy?
No,
What faces are you?
I had a little jaw cramp. I'm so sorry.
A jaw cramp?
I got a little jaw cramp. Let's just say my mouth's been active lately. And you read into that however you want. Sorry, Mom. Anyway.
I didn't think we have to cap it.
But you could, I don't even remember where I was going, but
Sorry.
that second episode I thought was really good. I thought it was even better than the first. If that pattern continues, you could see word of mouth really
Absolutely.
picking up.
I mean, come on. We're left on on seeing Nick Fury at his house with his wife, who demands that he put on his wedding ring every time he gets home.
And you know what he always says about his wife? Even when I'm out, I'm still in.
But I also was thinking about it, and I'm like, do they have like a rocky marriage? And I'm like, no. Probably for her safety, he doesn't wear a wedding ring, so nobody's like, I mean...
They can take out his family, the only thing he cares about.
What an obvious...
Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't exactly have a secret identity.
I mean, it got Maria Hill, didn't it? Gravik just wanted to kill the person that meant the most to him. He definitely would have killed his Skrull wife, right?
And I also think it's a way to escalate the tension of the show. Like you're saying, I think the more word of mouth gets out there, because this isn't a show that's made to just be casually watched. It's tension, it's dialogue, it's all like 2-person scenes. It's very like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, where it's just going to keep building. So I think it'll get bigger and bigger, personally.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on, Coven of Chaos, which, quick reminder, I always like to say this stuff because I myself get confused. We're currently watching Secret Invasion. Later this year, we get Loki. And after that, we get Echo.
Which will drop all episodes in one day.
Yes, we'll have this whole conversation over again.
And the other way, see how it works.
Binge
as I said,
Echo.
We are currently weaning Eric onto a dose of methamphetamines so that he will be able to...
He'll stay up 12 hours straight to
get all those breakdowns.
So, and then after Echo in November, the next Disney Plus series I think we're going to get served is Coven of Chaos in early 2024. And we're starting to get a little bit of press. Aubrey Plaza, who's in the series, is out there. She did a podcast interview. And she had this interesting quote about her character. It hasn't been announced what character she's playing. We just know she's in the series. She said she called it the most elevated Marvel project out there. Now, that is a fascinating quote.
I think that makes sense dramaturgically.
How so?
In the sense that I don't really know what elevated Marvel project or dramaturgically means. Like, what does she mean by elevated? Like, it's classy, or it's thematically deeper, or more.
I wonder, could they be going for like an A24 horror kind of element? Right? Real? Like, The Witch.
Robert Eggers in there.
Yes.
For a few episodes.
I mean, it could also just take place on Wondergore Mountain, and she's very sarcastic. It's
Yeah,
very high.
I was joking with off-screen producer Evan that she meant to say the most levitated Marvel project. It was just because they're going to be
Leviosa.
Yes. But I'm fascinated. We haven't heard a lot. There's been some like set photos and a lot of casting news. Great cast. Sacha Baron Cohen, Patti LuPone, obviously Catherine
Sacha Baron
Hahn.
Cohen confirmed?
I thought he was. Am I wrong?
I thought that was Iron Heart.
Heavily rumored.
Heavily
Pardon.
rumored.
Heavily rumored.
But like Lindsay Lohan said in 2004, I'm sick of all these rumors. Why can't they let me be?
Oh, that's a great question. How about we're excited again for more than just single sentence tidbits from Aubrey Plaza. Hopefully, we get a trailer for that maybe later this year.
Yes, Halloween.
That would be great.
It makes sense to maybe they start putting trailers on movies and put it on the Marvels. I would love to see Disney Plus finally cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
Because they're the same universe. You should advertise.
Also, how long has it been since Christopher Nolan's the only person that comes to mind for me that waits to put a trailer onto a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody just puts them out online, and trust me, at New Rockstars we appreciate that, so we can do breakdowns.
Yeah.
But there's something so great about the first time you ever see a trailer is in a movie theater waiting for another movie to start.
I do miss that experience of going to a movie and being like, oh, holy smokes, I knew this movie was coming out. This is what it looks like. Like, you know what? Because, when a movie's announced or conceptualized and casting starts to be announced, you start imagining it in your head.
Yes.
And then when you finally see that first trailer, it's always amazing to see if it was like, oh, that's pretty much what I thought, or holy smokes, I had no idea.
I mean, the second Dune 2 trailer dropped today. I watched it on my phone.
Yeah.
It's like, it's epic. There's all these giant battle shots and crowd scenes. I was like, oh, to see this on an IMAX screen for the first time would have been so incredible.
I'm actually waiting on that one. I knew Dune came out and I've avoided it. And I've actually muted the word so I don't see it on Twitter.
You're a real
I'm
Dune
really
dude.
trying.
I'm a real spice head, guys. It must flow. I cannot wait for Dune 2.
It's
But
actually a problem. We got to
must
take
be
back the
Dune.
promises in Malibu to get a spice habit down.
I'm wearing contacts to keep you from noticing how blue my eyes are right now. We've got some folks in the chat we want to get to. Verghost 1312 saying, I don't think that MODOK ass was leaked.
I think it leaked. I don't think it was leaked.
Fandom Hype saying, I'm going to need to get a Barbieheimer shirt.
Yes.
Well, Fandom Hype, we got one for you at nerdriot.shop. This is our shirt. We make this shirt. We got Barbie, and she's got little mushroom clouds in reference to Oppenheimer in her sunglasses. You can get this at nerdriot.shop.
An Easter egg in this shirt for me is that it's like Lucille Ball's hair on Barbie's head. And I like it. I say that as a compliment. It's a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Topical. It's up this time.
Yeah, boy Jay, how did you guys like the second episode of Secret Invasion? Well, I already kind of said that.
We loved it.
I mean, also, first time in a Marvel show, we've shown somebody getting their finger cut off.
Yeah, it was brutal. When they cut away, I was like, okay. And then they cut to it stronger. Yeah. I was like, I think if this sticks the landing, it'll be up there for Loki for me. Yeah. And Loki's my favorite of the Disney Plus shows. I like the mature tonality. I love WandaVision, but I do think episode 6 fell into the punch it problem. So WandaVision was to that point incredible, and then episode 6 kind of fell. So if this sticks the landing, if all 6 episodes are as strong or get better and better, this is up there for my favorite Marvel, top third of Marvel overall.
Yeah.
I love it.
I would agree.
I also like low-key the civilian death count they've already established in this show. Those bombs killed. Yeah, that's a lot of dead people.
Including children.
Is that since Sokovia got dropped, is that maybe the worst death toll for a Marvel property?
Because even talk about the Avengers not being there.
How many children Bruce Banner killed while he was coming his way through the universe.
That's true.
All right.
But
That's
Jaw
the plot of
cramps.
Captain America.
Jaw cramps.
Brave New
I guess,
World.
did they ever say a body count in Wakanda for the flooding?
oh,
We have to assume some people died there.
I mean, in the comics it was way more aggressive.
Yeah,
right? Like,
in the comics it was like one of those like altering of the universe events and it changed it, but
Yes.
like I think it was pretty severe.
Yeah. But yeah, loving the show so far, and I thought the second episode was excellent. Cookies and Ariel?
I
Secret
think it's Cookie Sandrielli.
Oh, thank you. Cookie Sandrielli. Yeah, I like that better. Secret Invasion was going to come out with 0 people watching, LOL. They wouldn't do Sam Jackson dirty.
I agree. I think these are false news numbers.
This is Scroll News that's leaking these. Lionel Corrado, I like the weekly drop of episodes because it gives time for the episodes to sink in. Yes. Also, always appreciate the break room y'all provide for us. Thank you. We
Yes,
appreciate
and let's
you.
not forget there's so many ways to watch our Secret Invasion coverage. We have Jay and I doing a live reaction, which this coming week, being a holiday weekend, we will not be reacting 4th of July evening, or rather the 5th of July at 1 a.m. We will be reacting live, Evan, at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
We will be reacting live for you, 3 p.m. July 5th. Give everybody a little time to watch the episode and watch with Jay and I. And then, of course, Inside Marvel and Eric's Breakdown will be out that day as well. But for you Twitchers, for my Twitchy bitchies, we'll be here 3 p.m. July 5th. Jay Washington and I experiencing episode 3 right along with you.
If somebody is a Breakroom fan on Twitch, are they a twash bag?
Yes, my twash bags.
It's too much.
My beloved twash bags.
80% of the chat voted that Maria Hill deserved better. Oh, I mean, I think that's just them showing love for the
Yeah,
show
I
in
believe that's
general.
more out of respect.
Because I like that it was a surprise and we didn't see it. Personally didn't see it coming.
That was impactful, and that's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It meant something. It wasn't a frivolous death or a death meant to just
And
to manipulate our emotions.
right,
Yeah, it
good
wasn't
God,
furthering a single thing. It was the whole universe.
the way they opened episode 2 with her mom.
Yeah.
Oh,
actress was
that
incredible.
was just a gut punch scene. That was so good. 90% of the chat liked episode 2 of Secret Invasion more than episode 1. I agree. I thought it was a lot better.
I think they're pretty neck and neck for me.
Yeah,
Episode
same.
1 was, I think, just the bombacity, no pun intended, and not a real word.
Bombosity? I don't know.
Bombast.
Bombast?
Mr. Bombastic?
Mr.
Mary
Bomb-
Fantastic?
Bomb-
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the feeling of after watching episode 1 was a feeling of after. It was similar to season 1 of Game of Thrones for me
Yeah.
in terms of like, holy shit.
It was like Guardians for me, where I was like, "Oh, I still love this." Like, it was
Yeah,
this relief
yeah,
of like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have to defend this because
Yeah.
it's quality.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Moving on to some other Marvel projects that are in the news. Captain America Brave New World. Again, that's coming out next year in production. Apparently, actively in production. They had paused production on that due to the ongoing writer strike. Well, they've picked it back up, baby.
Scabs. Rat scallions.
Well, and we were chatting about this a little bit before we started rolling. It's interesting. So typically, even though films are obviously written before they begin filming, usually writers are on set
Yes.
while filming because like, hey, this line isn't working. We need a new line.
Every single comedy that has been made in the last 40 years has had at least one,
yes.
and up to probably 5 on-set comedy joke writers that are sitting there literally in real time making sure the jokes are landing and are working and are translating to, being filmed, and if not, on the fly, very much in the style of a multicam sitcom, flying in.
Pitching alts, as they say, alternate punchlines
If
that
you've
might
ever
work
seen
better.
footage of Judd Apatow directing, he famously rolls very long takes, and he will sit there, and there usually is a writer or two next to him, and they will just yell out alts for the actors to say.
But this is not doing that because writers are not, in North America at least, are not on any set. They're all on strike. But we were chatting a little bit. Marvel movies are made so differently from so much other stuff. There's so much previs, right? There's so much green screen. A lot of it is obviously the script is locked in before they begin production, but also they famously do a ton of reshoots.
Yeah.
And they plan for that, right? They have all the actors already agree that like, hey, 4 months after you finish regular filming, you have to come back for reshoots because we'll have been in the editing bay and have figured out a lot of other changes we need made. So like, we were saying, they can come back and finish principal photography. Definitely they cannot do the reshoots without the writers.
There's no way.
And they cannot edit without the writers, probably. But there's probably a lot more where it's these big action sequences that are not necessarily writer-driven anyways, that they probably can go back and complete.
And just to clarify, and I'm not sure how interesting this is to our viewers, but the minutia of how a union strike works, if the writers are actively picketing in front of the set, then the guilds, including the Screen Actors Guild and the Teamsters and IATSE, they won't cross that picket line.
Right.
But if there aren't writers outside of where they're filming, the agreement between the WGA, the Directors Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, is to do the work. If you're not on strike, it's understood that you will go and perform your work. So the people acting in this movie are not violating the WGA or going against the WGA. They would be if the WGA was actively picketing in front of the strike location.
Yes. Well, and things might change soon.
Yes.
There's a potential actors strike. Of course, we've had a writer strike since the beginning of May. There's a potential actors strike. The SAG union was they were scheduled to either have signed a new agreement or strike at the beginning of July. They've gotten a new extension, which makes sense. There's a holiday next week, so it's a little tough. There's now an extension, so they won't strike potentially till July 7th. But if that happens, if SAG strikes, Harrison Ford ain't going to be on that set. Anthony Mackie is not going to show up either, so that will completely halt production. Because every actor you can think of is a member of SAG, and they show solidarity and they don't work. Yes. But Anthony Mackie's out there doing some press. He also has the Twisted Metal series coming out on Amazon sometime soon, I believe.
With Will Arnett voicing a character that is physically moved by wrestler Samoa Joe.
Oh, I did not know that. Is that the clown?
Yeah.
Is he playing the clown? Yeah. Oh, that's great.
What's the clown's name? It was always so scary. Does he have a name?
He has a weird name.
Chuckles?
Screwball or something like that.
Producer Evan will dig that up for us. But Anthony Mackie's out there doing press, and he said that the
Sweet Tooth!
There it is.
Now
Because he
I
drives
see
an
it
ice
on the
cream truck.
screen.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Mackie has said that the film takes place pretty much right after Falcon and Winter Soldier, which, remember, that series ends with he's got the shield, he's wearing his new Captain America outfit, doing press. Yeah. We haven't seen him since then, right? He hasn't appeared in any other Marvel projects. And then he also teased, he gets a lot of scenes with Harrison Ford's General Ross, right? And that kind of talked about, like, they have this long-going relationship. They've butted heads in the past, even though we haven't necessarily seen that depicted on screen.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to, assume that in this film, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's great because, William Hurt, who had previously played Thunderbolt Ross, he had a lot of scenes where he came in and he's basically like, his message is, I understand why you guys are doing what you're doing, but it goes against the law. Therefore, I'm coming after you. It was always like he was a slightly conflicted. Except for I think with the exception of Civil War, but like whenever he would come in, he would be like, when he come in hologram form, he'd be like, I kind of get this, but you're breaking the law. So and he also has this underlying thing, I think, because of Bruce Banner, where he wants to maintain control over the superheroes.
And I'm curious how that changes with the new take involving potentially Red Hulk and the whole Thunderbolt of it all, and Harrison Ford's more gruff take potentially. Like, I'm really curious what that relationship is and how they address it.
Yes, absolutely. Anthony Mackie also told a fun story when he initially signed up for his first appearance as Falcon, that he did not know what role he was playing. He just kind of agreed with the Russo brothers to join the MCU, and he didn't know what they didn't tell him. They were like, yeah, do you want to be in this movie? And he was like, sure, you guys seem cool. I'll do this movie, but they didn't tell him a role. He saw no script, which I love that. And he even thought for a moment he might have been playing Black Panther, which, that's a very different world in which he gets that role. Yeah. And then this is interesting because I think there's some interesting implications for this quote. He was kind of asked, like, what MCU actors would he like to work with again? And he mentioned Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, but he also mentioned Sebastian Stan. And like, we were kind of thinking, I've always wrongly, I think, been under the assumption that like Bucky will appear in Captain America.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Even though we know, right, he's going to be in Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like they're splitting them up purposely.
Yeah.
We probably will not get Sam Wilson in Thunderbolts, and we probably won't get Bucky Barnes.
They'll come back together in Kang Dynasty, probably.
Or they have to be enemies for a full movie each, and like the Thunderbolts are at odds with the Avengers, and you've got a reason for conflict spanning movies instead.
Wow, yet again.
That's what I would do.
Winter Soldier and Captain America at odds.
Yes. as was written in the fates.
Well, you know what happens when you don't learn from history, Zach?
You're destined to repeat it. Time
You're
out.
doomed to repeat it. You're ever K. Rost to repeat it.
In the Marvels news, Teyonah Parris, Monica Rambeau actress, she confirmed in a podcast interview with the outlet Black Girl Nerds that her character will get a superhero name. And, you know, other than Iron Man and a few other instances, Marvel in the MCU era has been kind of hesitant to use people's superhero names too often, right? They don't make those as prominent as maybe just their character names or as, you know, a blurring of the alter ego and real person. But she said that she is going to get one. They're going to refer to her by superhero name. And I'm sure Coy can go into this, but that gets a little complicated. There's some options there because her character has had multiple names throughout the comics.
Yeah.
A photon here, a pulsar there, a spectrum there.
I assume, because it's called The Marvels, she'll start as Photon, and maybe she lands as Captain Marvel, and it's an honorary title that they're all the Marvels, making the implication of the name like a thing they share.
Yeah.
Because Photon, she's currently Photon in the comics again, because she's gone back to Photon. But I could see the title of Marvels being like a sisterhood, and I would love if it lands with The Marvels as like a, you know, like a title like moment, like and now they're the Marvels. So I could see Photon how it starts and Captain Marvel how it ends.
Is that considered kind of cringe to change your name like that all the time? Like if I started going by Doug Kilpatrick, would you guys be like, that's no problem? What if I want you guys to call me Laser?
That
Laser's
is cool.
easy, done.
That is cool. I
Please.
think if you go from Tommy Bechtold to Doug Kirkpatrick,
hang on.
that's weird. That's cringe.
Restart the show and introduce me as Laser.
Okay, welcome back to Oops All Headlines on the break room. With me, I've got Coy Jandreau and Laser.
Let's get Laser.
Cast him. He's in
I
the
think it's
Marvels.
done. I think it's booked.
Done.
Yeah, I like that. Now, is there going to be a confusion over, wait, you can't be Captain Marvel, I'm Captain Marvel. Or do you think Carol Danvers is going to have a different Marvel?
So I think the character power set Spectrum makes the most sense because WandaVision, her actual power set. I think Photon is the thing that is going to be more like tying into her military background. So I think that's why they'll go Photon. Yeah. But I think the actual title of Captain Marvel, because Miss Marvel picked it up as an admiration, I think there's going to be like a bit of rivalry because you see how like they don't quite get along. And I think that Miss Marvel is going to endear herself to Captain Marvel, and through that process it becomes a sisterhood and they all decide to go by the moniker.
What if they all go by Captain Marvel and they do the Spider-Man point?
That
could be a nerdriot.shop shirt.
Ooh, that's a good shirt. We'll get that made. I like that, and because especially like they come about their captainness honestly, right? Like
actually,
Carol Danvers was in the military, and Monica Rambeau in law enforcement, right? So like it is funny to be like, well, I can't be Sergeant Marvel. I'm a captain, right? Like, I look for it. I think that's a good
Khan
idea.
was captain of the debate team.
Miss Marvel. In some Spider-Verse news, an Easter egg that some folks have noticed is that there's an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. reference in Across the Spider-Verse. We actually have this image, I think. Oh,
so fast.
there it is. So this is Miles's dorm room when he kind of hops in through the window. You can zoom in and see this New York Bulletin cover, and that is Quake. From Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Which is a fun kind of cross-universe weird...
Can I make a thought? Can I make a thought?
Make a thought, please.
Can I propose something that I think would be very interesting? What better way to canonize the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast than to reveal the majority of them are Skrulls? And that they've been using the... Because, I mean, we established that Samuel L. Jackson in the 90s asks the Skrulls to help, with world control and peace and, doing government ops. What if Quake is a Skrull with powers, with mutant powers?
What if Coulson was back because he did in fact die, and then they had someone lead them that was already an embedded Skrull, and we revealed that the entire Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. plotline was led by Skrull Coulson.
Yeah.
And if you watch
Skrullson.
Disney Plus, like the suggested, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is under episode 1 of Secret Invasion.
And I will say this. No disrespect to Fitz and Simmons, but if you show up with with May, Coulson, and Quake, I don't think anybody else is going to be like, this is Shield Erasure. Like you give us some Ming-Na, some Clark Gregg, and Chloe Bennett breaking the one-syllable name pattern. I think we're good.
I love it. I love this as a headcanon. Hey, before we move on, we have, again, some really fun DC news we want to get into. I just want to shout out somebody who's been sponsoring new Rockstars and Breakroom content recently, and that's Magic the Gathering's Universes Beyond series, Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Okay? Magic the Gathering, which I was doing the math earlier.
Yeah.
I've had a 30-year relationship with
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering.
This is one of the most excited I've been for a product sponsoring.
I was playing for MTG fans out there. I go back to Ice Age, 4th edition. Okay, I was there for Mirage. Okay,
Right.
I know what I'm talking about. But I have to admit, I have not been an active Magic the Gathering player for a little while. But they've come out now. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're owned by Hasbro.
Yes.
And so that has allowed them to do all kinds of other deals. They do Transformers cards occasionally.
Yes.
And they have this whole series around the Lord of the Rings. And I thought it'd just be fun. Let's open up a pack.
Let's open a pack. By the way, I've been circling Zach's office every day being like, hey, when we're done with this sponsorship, please say a few of those boxes fall off the truck and into old Tommy B's sweet
Hey,
arms.
throw in the chat. Would it be fun to watch Tommy and I just open up packs of all kinds of shit on Twitch? Okay,
So,
I'm talking
elf
about
cards.
elf cards. I'm talking about Operation Desert Storm cards. I'm talking about
Saddam Hussein rookie.
Yeah,
Have you ever
that's
seen
right.
that video of that guy?
Yes.
I love it.
Talking about all Cabbage Patch Kids, you name it.
Yeah.
We can get weird with it on
We
chat.
want to call it opening up with Tom and Zach because it'll be a little bit like therapy.
That's right. And I do want to say, I did look up. Now, I don't think we're going to have one of these. They have, in amongst all the decks in circulation, there are some ring cards that are like worth millions of dollars. Okay, I don't think we're going to get a ring card probably. But if we do, I will shit. Okay.
Yeah. If you do, you're going to see 2 less employees at New Rockstars.
Last episode of the Breakroom.
Zach and I are going to be heading over to
Yeah.
Burbank Sports Cards in Manitoba, Canada, and selling that card.
But yeah, you get cool stuff like this. Like this is an Urukai Berserker, right? And he's a 3/2 creature, right? A fun mix of like Lord of the Rings lore and the classic Magic the Gathering kind of constructs. Ooh, a Mordor Trebuchet? Come on, dude. Get on board.
One does not simply trebuchet into Mordor.
Grima Wormtongue. You know what?
Hey!
This is probably of all the Lord of the Rings references, the amount of times I call somebody a Wormtongue.
Yes. Played famously by the voice of Chucky, Brad Dourif, right?
Yes, that guy. And he was also in David Lynch's Dune. Of course, that's my favorite role he's played. We've got, and also it's a great test of your pronunciation skills. How would you say this person's name?
Of course. Erkenbrand, Lord of Westfold. Whenever Erkenbrand, Lord of Westfold, or another human enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn.
Ooh, and then look, the last card I pulled from this pack is a like foil card, which is cool. A legendary artifact, Sting the Glinting Dagger.
Ooh.
That's
a pretty-
Frodo's knife.
Frodo's- yeah.
Frodo's blade.
That's a pretty good card. We may have to sleeve that.
Yes, and I think like I haven't played this yet, though I want to. There's like different mechanics. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a game you can play all into itself. You don't need to be into Magic the Gathering in general to play the Lord of the Rings.
So yeah, write in, tag in, tweet at us, put it on the Instagram. You want Tommy and Zach opening up. We will open up toys, cards.
Letters?
We'll open up animals. I will go into text. I will do a taxidermy project. You know what else I'll open up? My relationship with my father.
Oh, I would like that.
It's fine. It's actually good. We're going on vacation soon.
Great. A lot of people in the chat would like to see that card show. We have to convince off-screen producer Evan, who has stated multiple times he hates cardboard.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's
The
anti.
material itself.
That's right.
He's all about. He likes. He hates cardboard. He loves card stock. He likes card stock. He hates cardboard. He likes a plastic.
Yes.
He loves a plastic. He loves a marble. He loves anything in a stone.
Yeah.
He loves anything in a hard tack.
Like a glassware.
He loves anything in a tack board. He loves cork.
Yeah.
But he does not like cardboard.
He has so many specific materials preferences. This guy, he's a character.
Yeah, if you ever meet him in the streets, just run the other way. Because I got to be honest with you, he's a real nightmare.
Hey, he's a freak in the streets, and he's a freak in the sheets.
Yes.
And by that I mean sheets of plywood, sheets of plastic,
particle board.
That's right. Yeah.
Sheets of plexiglass,
right.
But never sheets of cardboard.
No. Hey, let's get to that DC news I teased long ago. Some of the biggest DC news we've had in quite a while.
Yes.
We've all been following this.
USA! USA!
Hey, we've got a new Superman officially.
Yeah.
And he's from Philly, baby.
That's right. David Cornsweat.
Suck it, England. We got one back.
That's right. You can have our Batman and you can have our former Superman.
But you'll never take away our freedom.
That's right. David Cornsweat, who you might have seen in the Netflix series Hollywood or The Politician.
Which was, I think, kind of, The Politician's production schedule was so fast. They came out with a second season under a year after the first season. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
It's it's definitely a niche show. It's an actory show.
It's Ryan Murphy, so
Yes.
it's way over the top.
It's Ben Platt.
Yes.
And it's basically Zoe Deutsch. And it's about a high school election. It begins as a story of a high school election.
But it's Ryan Murphy, so there's murder and crazy plots and stuff like that. But he was very good in it. And then cast as our new Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, which is Miss Maisel herself from Marvelous Miss
Midge
Maisel.
is Lois, and it's perfect.
Send me to sea,
She
boys.
can get the Amy Sherman Palladino language, which means she can play a Pulitzer-winning writer. I love that the language of Lois Lane is so important, and to have someone of this caliber, I'm so excited. And the look of Cornsweat is I don't know his work that well, but 6'4" David Cornsweat and 5'3" little tiny Midge
and
Maisel.
good God, David, Mr. Cornsweat, the jawline on this young
Immaculate.
man. Okay, super. It's a super jawline.
He looks like they AI'd Brendan Routh,
Tom Welling,
Henry Cavill, Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
It's been so funny the kickback on that. People are like, why did they just keep Henry Cavill because of this guy? I'm like, yeah, but if they look like each other, that means he looks like Superman because the other one's Superman. And that shot in Man of Steel where for a second it looks like Christopher Reeve also means that Christopher Reeve looks like Henry Cavill because they're all Superman.
There's a
right.
type.
It's the
There's a
weirdest
type.
reason
Well,
to be masked.
I also like this detail. He's of Jewish extraction, which Superman famously created by Jewish authors, right? As kind of a metaphor. The Ubermensch is a thing from Jewish lore. You can read up on that.
The ship vessel itself, the baby down the river. There's a lot of really wonderful Jewish imagery in the Superman lore, and it was written by two guys in the throes of right before World War II. It's an escapist thing for them. I love that.
Not since Sandy Koufax have the chosen people had a hero to lift up on their shoulders. David Cornsweat. I can't wait to see what you do. Who's going to be Lex Luthor, goddammit?
Yes. Well,
who's it going to be?
Let's get to that in a second. So this has been a surprisingly public kind of process. It had been leaked over the last few weeks which actors were reading for this. And maybe in a moment here, Tommy can talk about what that process kind of looks like from an actor's point of view. But some big names. Nicholas Hoult being among the biggest. Of course, he's already in the X-Men franchise, played Beast in the First Class series, and been in a ton of other things, most recently The Menu, something I saw him in last year.
Oh, yeah.
But him and then another actor, Tom Brittney, who's somebody I wasn't as familiar with. He's an English actor. It's mostly done English TV. I'd not seen as much of his work. And then the other actresses that were in the running for Lois Lane were Emma Mackey, who was in the Netflix series Sex Education.
Yeah.
She's also in Barbie coming up. And she looks... a little bit like Margot Robbie, though she is French and English, I believe, not Australian. And she looks a little bit like Homegirl from Ready or Not. Who is
Samara Weaving?
Yes, Samara Weaving.
Yes.
They all kind of have these gigantic eyes and very attractive women.
All tough to look at.
And then Phoebe Dynevor, I think I'm saying her name right, who was the lead in the first season of Bridgerton. She was also in the
That's
running.
where she's from.
Yeah, she's the oldest daughter in the first season of Bridgerton.
Yes.
But we have our winners. They've been cast. It's been formally announced. Thoughts, Coy?
So I personally think that the most important element of Superman is his humanity, because what you need is a character that should not have to be as good as he is. Like, he's an all-power, he's an Ubermensch. So I love that they cast someone that we don't know, so we're not going to associate, like, I mean, he's got work, but we're not going to associate all of his prior work to him. You're going to think of this connection. And then the humanity of Superman is always tied to Lois, Ma, and Pa Kent. So the idea that we've got sessioned, endearing, and adorable Rachel Brosnahan playing Lois, and capable, intelligent, witty, that's going to make it so, like, when Superman is all powerful, but he's going like, we need humanity. We need to understand why he would do all this. Our eye line's Rachel Brosnahan. And I think the casting, and I said this on another show, that I think the most important casting in the DCU might be Lois. Because Superman's the face of the thing, but if you don't believe in the humanity element, then it doesn't work. If Lois and Clark don't work, the DC universe doesn't work. And if Lois doesn't work, then Clark is just the Homelander that he can be. And like, so I love that Clark is going to have this powerhouse woman as the story that launches the DC universe. I really think this is a beautiful way to do it. I'm glad they're starting with these two. I think the casting is what we need to be with the unknown, and then a little bit more, like, that's kind of the tradition, an unknown Clark and a little bit more well-known Lois Lane. Yeah. And Margot Kidder at the time.
Yes.
I think she was a little more well-known than Chris Reeve. So I think this is perfect, and I also think his look is immaculate. I love that he's so much taller, because that allowed a lot of that fun, like, you know, the standing up, the depth of field. Like, Superman needs to look like the animated series, where he's just this beast. And a lot of people were complaining that he's like too skinny, but like, Henry Cavill was very small when he got cast. There's actually a shot of him in Christopher Reeve's Superman suit, and he's smaller than me. Like, he's not a big guy.
Well, let's put it out there. There's also potential, right, that he doesn't beef up, and he's more of a ripped Tyler Durden kind of Superman, potentially. Because also, I don't know that you can outmass Henry Cavill. Okay,
No,
that guy was
crazy.
big. Okay, so like, potential there. Obviously, David Cornsweet will get on that bulking diet, probably put on some LBs, but maybe it'll be a slightly different looking Superman than the most recent one we've seen, at least.
I'll give him some of my mass.
That's generous of you, Tom.
I'll donate my mass.
What a kind man you are.
Corn
I also like
Speaking of corn sweat, I think I got a corn sweat going right now.
after that. Yeah, after some of those.
Sheesh.
I also like the little detail from his bio that I enjoyed. He went to Juilliard, which famously, so did Christopher Reeves.
Oh, I love
Christopher Reeves and Robin Williams were buddies at Juilliard way back in the 70s.
I also love that he spoke out in 2019 when everybody was like, you look just like Superman, and he said that he wanted to play a more optimistic one. As much as he enjoyed Henry Cavill's dark take, he was describing his version of it 4 years ago, and then James Gunn was describing his version of it. So I love that there's different takes. These are archetypal characters. It's very important to have different versions of them, or it gets stale. I love that they both separately described their Superman being akin to each other, and I think this is going to be a beautiful relationship between the two of them.
And famously, Zach, you and I went to Julie's Yard, which is a pill bar in Los Feliz. They have drinks
with Robbie
there.
Williams.
Yeah, we were with Robbie Williams and we were with Cat Williams. Your boy Jay says, do they keep Sasha Calle for Supergirl? I loved her performance as Supergirl. I did as well. She's got my vote, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like the Flash seems like there may be some bad mojo.
We're going to talk about Flash in a moment here. Well, and just speaking of other casting, so like, there's also this rumor that Nicholas Hoult might be in the running to play Lex Luthor instead. Luthor. I always
the narcissist.
I literally 5 times a day I switch those because I am also a wrestling fan. Lex Luthor, of course.
I've been hearing Skarsgårds. Either Bill or Alexander are both apparently like the Hemsworths with Thor dueling it out for the role. I personally could see Bill as if they go more of the eccentric manic Lex, but I think we more recently had that. And I could see Alexander, ironically, Lex Skarsgård playing Lex Luthor as more the, wasn't it Succession he just did where he's like, I could see that being the more like, a man that is so afraid of an invader to his city, he tries to physically match him. I'd love to see more of that, like, I'm gonna American Psycho Patrick Bateman my way. I'd love to see more of the President Lex Luthor. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen the Gene Hackman wacky with his little lackey. We've seen, Mark Zuckerberg. And now we've seen a lot of TV adaptations. I, to this day, think Mike Rosenbaum's the best. I think Michael Rosenbaum is our best Lex Luthor. I think the closest to that of those three is Alexander Skarsgård. I love Nick Hoult. I want to see him as like Reed Richards. I want man to get his own franchise. But I think at this point, Alexander Skarsgård's who my pull is.
I love that. What a tall Lex Luthor that would be.
Bill Skarsgård for Mr. Mixelplex.
Oh, I love
good
it.
Casting,
Perfect.
Casting. I think all those names sound like they'd be really intriguing, and I like that. So, the most recent DC film, still in theaters, The Flash.
But it won't be for long. It's like streaming in 2 weeks, right?
Gone in a flash.
Probably. So, of course, it's been a disappointment at the box office. And there's a lot of reasons you could point to for that. But one implication of this is that because James Gunn's coming out and launching his new DCU, that has lessened the impact, the importance of these kind of existing 2023 movies, right, that are kind of orphaned. We know they're not necessarily going to get direct sequels in James Gunn's plan. Some people think that might have contributed to The Flash underperforming. And so the other directors of these upcoming films are kind of coming out and talking about their films in a similar way. Like the director of The Blue Beetle, which is coming out in November, I believe, has come out and said that the Blue Beetle character will continue and will continue to make appearances in James Gunn's DCU.
And I think that has been a like slowly evolving stance, because I think when James Gunn made his initial announcements, he mentioned, he name dropped Flash, Aquaman 2, and Blue Beetle, and then he had mentioned that he loved the character. But I don't think he had initially said, but I think he himself has mentioned since then, and I think probably important to the success of the movie, people have to go in knowing that character will be returning in other DCU stuff, because I think that is a big thing that hurt The Flash, was like, these characters, this is a one and done. Now for me, I enjoyed the movie, so it's like, I could take it as a standalone film, but I'm a little more involved than our dumb fans.
Whoa.
Trash bags.
Yeah, our trash bags. And then similarly, James Wan, director of Aquaman 2, Lost Kingdom, has said that, actually separately, this is different than Blue Beetle, he said that he views his film as a standalone film.
I think that's
so
healthy.
it's no more connected to the James Gunn DCU than it was going to be to the previous DCU. It just and when you think about it, the first Aquaman was pretty standalone. Right?
Yeah,
Most of it took place in the ocean. There weren't a lot of other Cyborg wasn't strolling through the Marianas Trench or anything like that. So that kind of makes sense. And we were chatting about this a little bit. We've been conditioned mostly by Marvel over this last 2 decades, right? To expect all superhero movies are part of a multi-film franchise, and that is wonderful and rewarding, especially when it leads to something like Avengers Endgame or Captain America Civil War. But at the end of the day, they're also 2-hour things you just go to the movie theater to enjoy for 2 hours, right? Whether they lead to more sequels or not. And so, like, I think it's cool. Just make a superhero movie. That's a great movie.
I think it's so much healthier.
Yes.
I think it's TV is what the MCU has become, but that doesn't mean every superhero movie needs to be part of the season that Marvel has replicated. It's basically a big TV show. It's you got the big episodes, you got the season finales, you got all these things. And that's not knocking it. It's just that's the format. I think it's smart of DC to go back to the Blade X-Men era, and then if it builds to something, so be it.
And if the movie is super popular, great, we'll make a sequel. But we don't have a 12 film arc already planned out, right?
Because if you look at James Gunn's announcement, there are opportunities for crossover, but they're not inherent. Like there's nothing that goes like Justice League. There's nothing that goes the Authority 2. You can have the Authority appear in Superman to set it up, but you could also have that just be a cohesive world that you don't have to tie things in. And that way you have like the tonality differences. The strength that Marvel had in the beginning was each movie felt so unique to itself, and then the magic was the Avengers having a Shakespearean Thor and a snarky Iron Man and a regal Spangled Man somehow meshing. That kind of got lost when we assumed it. So I think DC's best strength is going to be having a low-budget, R-rated Swamp Thing that doesn't feel like it's like the golly gee Superman we're going to get. That doesn't feel like it's like the parental Batman. I think the tonality should be different. That way when they all come together, or don't, it feels unique to that new thing.
Yes, and I think along those lines, right, James Mangold, director of Swamp Thing, has come out and said that, like, he's not trying to make a movie that's connected to a broader cinematic universe. He just wants to make a very simple, clean, gothic horror movie about this man monster, which, hell yeah, dude. I can't wait to watch that, right? Just viewing it as standalone. Now, that doesn't mean there might not be a post-credit scene where somebody else shows up.
It's also the comics, right? Like, Swamp Thing isn't something I'm like, that guy's got to be in the Justice League.
Right.
Like, he can be in the Justice League dark, but I'm not like he's best friends with Superman.
Batman drinks a green juice. That ain't no green juice. Hey, speaking of which,
Sword Jaw?
You got to think, it's jaw cramps. Jaw cramps in the chat. Now, you got to think of the Breakroom as standalone things. I mean, not every show is going to be all headlines with, 3 talented men. Sometimes you're going to have to watch Eric Voss say some bullshit with 2 maniacs. And you know what? Suffer through it to get to the gold. Now, I want to mention Oops All Berries, not a sponsor yet. Captain Crunch, not a sponsor yet. The back of this box is haunting.
Whoa.
It is. I don't know if we can zoom in.
60 years of crunch.
60 years of crunch. Who the hell is in the captain's crew? It is so upsetting.
Wait, what?
It appears as though he rocks with 2 sperm ghosts, a germ, and a testicle.
Okay.
What is happening there?
What is he the captain of?
And why are there children on the boat with him?
I'm just worried all around.
Where are those children's parents?
You know what? Tune in next week
As we discover the history of the captain.
It's all headlines. We'll get into which of these characters are on a watch list.
Yeah. We'll be making headlines as I bring the captain to justice.
Can we have a Quaker representative give us the canon of who the captain was before he got this cereal?
I would love that. We also might need to do a taste test. You know, there's been talks of doing a Secret Invasion Wingstop wing taste test. They have these Secret Invasion Wingstop flavors, right? Of course, we would have tried to do a Spider-Verse Whopper taste test,
but
it's
sold out in a day.
Sold out everywhere. We couldn't get our hands on one. But
do you think people are collecting them? You think there's just a bunch of Whoppers on shelves?
They last forever.
I mean, that is true.
That's
Have
the
you ever seen
fear.
the McDonald's
They
burger?
just
that one
make
that
it.
sat on that guy's desk
Yep.
for 5 years?
But a secret sauce, secret invasion tasting. That which bites a Skrull?
Yeah.
Ooh, wouldn't that be great? Leave in the chat or comment on this video. Is there a movie or TV or comic inspired food or snack that's out there right now?
Because we're
that you
hungry
think
and we can get work
that's
to pay
right.
for it.
That's right. That's the only way we can expense it.
And don't forget to use the hashtag Evan Embrace Cardboard so we can get Zach and Tom opening up.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Coy,
Thank you,
for joining us. Thank you, Tommy, as always. Thank you all so much for watching, either on Twitch or YouTube, or both, if you're a real G.
Yeah.
For watching us here on The Break Room. Be sure to subscribe. Tommy already kind of outlined the coverage next week for Secret Invasion Episode 3. You don't want to miss any of that, so make sure you're subscribed to The Break Room on YouTube. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Love you.
Keep it Gucci to Moochie.
I love you.